Yes, sir.
Okay.
Somebody give him a countdown.
This is the What's Neat This Week podcast for September 30th, 2017. I'm Daniel Coombs, and tonight with me I got Ken.
It's all right.
And take two.
Number 12.
This is the What's Neat This Week podcast for September 30th, 2017, podcast number 12. My name is Daniel Coombs, and tonight I got with me Ken Patterson, Mike Buddy, Chris Palomares, Larry Horn, and Dirk Reynolds doing cameras for us tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dirk.
Thanks.
Let's start off tonight with a couple of questions that we had on some YouTube feedback. And Dirk, if you want to maybe read those off, we'll get those squared away.
All right, here's our first one. It says, how long are the track sections that Jeff made for the diorama? Also, can you tell us about the heat gun Jeff used? That, I think, would go to Ken first, since he was building that diorama.
The heat gun. Oh, that was a soldering gun. That was a hot soldering gun. You can get one of those on eBay for like $99, and it blows hot air, because a lot of folks like to use hot air when they're around delicate electronics, because you don't heat up the circuit boards, you just heat up the areas of solder. And what was the other question?
How long are the track sections?
The track sections, I think they were about 3 feet long. Just guessing. That was a long die. Mm-hmm. And we were using a straight die and then curving that track. And you can watch in the video on how exactly he did that. The What's Neat video that's currently running over at Model Road Hobbyist.
Okay, the other one is from Robert Getty. And he says, I notice you don't use any traditional roadbed material like cork or homosote, and install the track directly on the extruded foam. Can you explain your reasoning for this? And again, I think that goes to Ken, where he was doing a demonstration for Ed Richardson.
Oh, yeah.
Because Ed wanted to know, how do you carve foam scenery? And the track bed was
I will
carved.
never forget me and Eric Nooner, the kid up the street. We were both about 10 years old at the time, and we were waiting for the UPS man every single day to bring us our Cork Roadbed from Hobbies for Men. That was the place where you ordered stuff way back when. And I got to tell you, cork's old school. Back then we didn't have foam, we had plywood. So you'd put the cork on it, and naturally it would dry up and get hard, and you'd have to relay it after about 3 or 4 years. Cork got brittle. It got hard. And it was great for plywood, but we're laying on foam now. Why use cork? Why even use any kind of roadbed on foam when you can just carve the topography right down from track level to where you want it to go? The foam becomes our cork. Why spend the extra money on something you don't need?
Well, Ken, let's just kind of back up a little bit. You're making dioramas for photo use. I mean, there's going to be different instances where you do want roadbed. And kind of talking about old school is this pine sort of roadbed. This is the true scale version of it. And we can get some detail shots on this in a minute. But the real advantage of that is when you're hand laying, you can really get in there with spikes, and then the spikes will just sink in there. Yeah. The other thing too, sometimes on foam, when you start working with it, the topology on it will get a little fluttery. It'll look like a sine wave if you start leaning in on it and using tools and stuff. This stuff will really kind of smooth it out and give you a really nice flat surface on.
Is that still made?
No, I actually got it on eBay. And I got a great steel, a big pile of this true scale roadbed, so I could kind of match, for future usage. And
is there anything similar to that nowadays that people, other than cork?
I'm not sure.
I'm going to get into trouble here, because what I'm about to say is going to cost me 2 hours of looking for the photographs later on during post-editing. No, last week I spent 6 hours looking for the Volvo pictures, and I found them. I'm going to show them to you tonight. But with regards to what you just said, what I have done in the past, and I've had great success with handling track with foam, but what I do is there's two kinds of wood. There's balsa wood and there's bass wood. Mm-hmm. You want to get balsa wood because it's firmer, it's harder, and you can spike into that. And what you do is you take a router, you route out the thickness of your balsa wood piece of plywood that you're using to the areas where the turnouts go, After that piece is in flush, now you can spike your turnouts and still have all the glory of foam. But for wooden sub-base, you do need that when you're doing turnouts. You
Well,
really
yeah,
do.
I mean, especially if you start talking like Proto 87, using the finer scale details and stuff like that. You want something really stable to put your
Yeah, I
your,
want to
your ties
clarify
on.
something. Balsa wood is more porous and more.
One's softer than the other. You don't
Balsa
want
is a-
softwood.
is
You want the
soft
harder wood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basswood is the
Is
harder
basswood the
wood.
harder
Good
wood?
catch.
Okay.
Right.
I stand corrected, but the fact is, you want the firm stuff because you can spike into it, the track will hold to it, and it works
Right,
beautifully.
right.
The slides I'm going to look for that I probably already shown. Hopefully, I found them to show you these already. But I did this 18 years ago when I first started building the layout down here, and I was big into hand laying because we had just retired to Midwest Valley layout, which was hand laid switch yard, and so I had to hand lay my turnouts for the layout that I was starting to build down here.
Yeah.
And the only way I could get through it was to have a sub base of wood on top of the foam. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
trusted the foam at all. But still, I wouldn't use Cork Roadbed on top of foam. I just simply wouldn't.
Well, with a diorama, you're only cutting a little, maybe 3-foot section. For somebody building a layout, though, that's
My whole layout's built the same way. There's not a bit of Cork
Yeah.
Roadbed in this, and it's
Yeah.
worked out beautifully for almost going on 10 years.
Also, I've heard that cork does over time tend to really dry and crumble up, and when you first lay it down, let's say on just the baseboard of your layout, you got to sand it smooth to where your track will go over without any kind of kinks or just little imperfections. And that's also a lot of time and labor because let's say you got a big layout like we've got here in the basement, like what Ken's got, and you got to sand all that. That's a lot of labor involved. Where it's simple, you just put the foam down, carve it out, the topography of the foam, and just lay your track right on.
Yeah, I've had no problem laying track onto foam. None at all. Even if the foam shrinks a little bit, that's not
now
a problem.
you use liquid nails for to put your ties down
I do.
when you're
And
hand laying.
what kind of tracker are you using mostly?
I've got mostly microengineering on this layout.
Oh, flex.
And all the switch yards are all
Right.
Atlas for the
Right.
hidden staging.
Okay.
But all the scene track is all microengineering.
Yeah.
Well, it's different strokes for different folks. I mean, there's really
Right.
no wrong way to do it. These are just some of the things that we use.
Yeah, I mean, all the people that use
I
Cork are
mean,
going to be sending me hate
it's kind of
mail. I'm
funny
sorry.
that something old school is going to be new school for me. This is just how I'm going to start doing my own personal dioramas for my own little layout at home. So take that for however useful it may be, but
I wonder if any of the older people that have used that stuff in the past could let us know if water affects that. When you soak it, you put your ballast down and everything. I always wondered if that would maybe warp or
probably so.
be in a
And,
piece
and,
of wood,
and it probably explains why this one's already coated with
good
with some
idea. I guess
latex
if you
paint.
seal the surface, seal it totally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I see that you've got some engines here, Chris. Some Athearn new engines.
people are anticipating the ES44DCs. These are the direct current version of the ES44AC that we had initially. We had 3 road names that were announced with the ES44ACs. These are the DCs, and it opened up a couple more road names. We're doing Norfolk Southern, CSX, BNSF. We've done BNSF before, but we're doing a new paint scheme, one of the earlier heritage schemes. One of the things to note with this is the locomotive that's in primer here is actually a prototype locomotive. They were delivered to CSX in a moment where CSX was incredibly power hungry. So as soon as these were pretty much like sealed up and patched up and hit with primer, they were sent off onto the road to start earning
Brand
revenue.
new like that?
Brand new, just like that. They'd say we'll paint them later.
Yeah.
And they did. They painted them later, but when they first came off the assembly line, they went right into service.
Now,
And,
what year would that be?
I'd have to check into that, but it's definitely during the earlier times of the GEVOs.
Like the early 2000s?
Yeah, early
or-
2000s. Early 2000s.
Boy, that's incredibly
So-
detailed.
Now, 2 weeks ago, we had the Intermountain Tier 4. Isn't that what that was that we looked at?
Yep, Tier 4s.
And that was pretty neat. Now, this week, we've also got another new engine here. And this is the ScaleTrains.com Tier
Operator.
4. This is called the ET44AH locomotive. And it's a Rivet counter series that Mike is looking at. Is that right?
No, it's operator.
Scale
This
train.
is rivet
That's
counter.
the operator. Here's the rivet counter. Okay, let's do this again. The rivet counter is a very detailed looking locomotive. I mean, it is just tricked out like we discussed plastic brass last week. I would say that that's what that is. And then what Mike is holding is the operator series number engine, which is the same type of locomotive, except for here we've got the opportunity to be modelers. We get to put our own handrails and grab irons and different things like that onto it, which is what we want for the guys that want to model and save $100. Rock and roll. That's exactly what we're looking for. So they've got both angles covered here. I took these outside and photographed them this week. Some nice, beautiful weather, and I also shot some video of them rolling. And in fact, the roller bearings I noticed also rolled on these units. They've got Loc sound in them, and they sounded really nice. If I'm going to feature them in the November's What's Neat, so that's why we can't really talk the whole time and then let you listen to them running. So, but in November you'll be able to get the whole, pretty much the whole shabam on these things. But again, there's some nice models from scaletrains.com. They're worth looking at. Check them out, guys. They're pretty cool.
Before we get too far, I just want to say that this podcast is brought to you by Oak Hill and Model Railroad Track Supply.
Right.
And Jeff Otto, thank you very
good
much.
old
We
Jeff.
love you, Jeff Otto.
Well, we're endorsed by Jeff Otto, Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply. All of our viewpoints and all the things that we say, all of our tips
Right.
are our own. So,
Yeah, they're on our own, but if Jeff was here, he might agree.
yeah.
Check it out, ohrtracksupply.com. Jeff's got this beautiful website on how to make prefab hand-laid track jigs using his templates. And it's a pretty neat system. Thank you very much, Jeff, for sponsoring this podcast. I got to tell you, I've been under the weather, but we've got the season changes going on. I walked outside to put polyurethane on the dioramas this morning, and they were covered up with a group of wasps. They were all just trying to keep warm because it was so cold. It was like first time last night it got to below 58 degrees. Wow. I mean, the spiders are running their webs out there longer.
Yeah,
I saw a spider out there as long as sunrise, which is unusual because once it gets light out, the birds will fly in and grab those spiders and just eat them right up. And those moles, I don't know who wrote this word after my moles here, but those moles. Now, on the Garden Railroad, I built cement roadbed. And the reason for that was when I just simply had ballast outside and a mole would come through, your track would get raised up 6 inches. And this was a common occurrence once a week. It was a problem. So I put down cement out there.
Yeah.
And the cement's been out there for a good 10 years. Well, today I went out there and the moles have dug up the cement. It is cracked. It is raising. I know you're looking at the video of it right now. I got it. It's a fact.
Like tremors.
So
Michael Gross will love that.
Michael Gross would like that.
Well, how many ways to Kevin Bacon,
now I know Chris had some questions he wanted to ask tonight.
Well,
You want to ask a question to start?
no,
fight?
no. I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm going to just state
Weren't
that
you
there's
gonna ask
something
a
that was
question?
really neat that no one's mentioned before that just came out on Thursday.
Okay.
And it's RailPro just announced that they're putting out sort of like a direct radio.
And DCC combination.
Yeah,
board.
so it's a dual mode sort of thing. It could go either way. It could be either a DCC decoder or direct radio.
All right, so I think I want to kind of explain it because Chris, you actually did send me a text to say, Daniel, why don't you just watch the video and review it? But I just want to say that RailPro itself is its own system, two-way direct radio, like Chris mentioned. But what it is, it's basically you've got a handheld throttle that's all touchscreen, and you got a big knob. All right, it's really an amazing system for what I hear. Direct radio, but you do have to buy their own modules, and that's the drawback, which is the RailPro system itself. But now with them coming out with the LMS3 module, dual mode RailPro and DCC, so it doesn't matter what you have. If you put that module in your locomotive, plug it in 9, 8 pin, whatever, you can still run it both on RailPro and DCC.
Right.
So,
well, it also opens up kind of like I think a foothill the first step into like really getting a more useful system. I mean, there are a lot of features in a lot of these DCC systems that we have right now, but a lot of them just go kind of unsung. It's like, Ken, why do you put everything on address 3?
I knew that was coming. Because why not? I mean, I only run one train at a time. I don't operate 2 trains at a time. I model for the run-by effect. I mentioned that in my home layout video. where I've built certain locations where I just want to
Yeah.
relax trackside
Right.
and watch a train run by whatever era it is this afternoon.
Exactly.
I model for the run by effect. I don't model to operate. I mean, when I used to work, the last thing I wanted to come home is work. And to me, operation is work. I got to use my brain.
Right.
I got to pay attention. I got to look at cards. I got to look
Yeah.
at time.
Who wants to do all that?
To me, I mean, now
got
I'm
no
not speaking
time
for
for that.
everybody. This is where, the comments that we say here don't be offended by what I'm saying.
No,
but I have no interest in operating. I went to a friend's house, Patrick Pope's house once. Most beautiful layout. I've got pictures of this. You're probably seeing them right now. Most beautiful layout that you've ever seen. Just aisles and aisles, miles of track. But my attention span for operating, I didn't get invited back. Because when it came time to switch these two Athearn U-boats with the old motors and the old handrails, I started picking cars up and putting them there. I did not have the attention span.
You know what that's
To
called?
watch, it's called. I wanted.
cheating.
To, I
That's
wanted
a
to.
felony.
I wanted to. I didn't want to operate.
Going to railroad
You can't-
jail.
I'm not a good player when it comes to operation.
Well, you know what, I do
I'll
have-
play
Yeah.
chess. I don't mind chess.
I do have to object by that because I have gone to some operating sessions. I myself quite liked them. Again, it brings out realism and simulation.
Yeah,
of
I'm
the
sure it can
prototypes.
be fun.
So
I would
everything's
like to
number
try
3.
it sometime, but some guys take it really seriously.
Actually, yeah, the guys I
you
know,
know.
they all take it seriously.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of pull the rope back on this
All right.
because
Yeah.
we're not really.
We got away from
fully
number
exploring
3.
the rest of this here.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
it's something that's intimate to you too. Because
Yeah.
you're not DCC.
No, I just have never felt the need to.
To dive in.
I mean, I love the sound and this.
You are
especially-
probably a good 60% of the
Yeah.
folks out there.
I love the lighting effects too.
And I
wish
love
there
it
was
when
a
you
way
talk
that,
about
you
this
know-
because then you give voice to that 60%, the
Yeah.
folks that don't want to convert all their brass. They don't want to convert all the stuff they've had for X amount of years. Besides, now, when you buy it, it comes with it. And I don't want to say I rotate
right.
my stock, but the trains that I used to have that were number 11, 12, 15, 18, all these numbers written on a piece of plywood so I'd never lose my numbers because God help you if I forgot what numbers they were. I don't do that anymore. There are all 3. My UPs are number 4. But everything down here on these shelves is all 3. You run a consist together, all the headlights are on. It'll drive you crazy if that bothers you.
Yeah.
I mean, I could consist them 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's just a few more steps with the throttle. But again, I'd rather just throw them on and run them and go build something over here while the trains are running.
Yeah.
I don't.
That's kind of the way I feel.
I just play trains. I run trains. It's a racetrack.
But don't you think that inevitably that we need to take everybody to move forward because when
Right.
everybody's using kind of a similar technology, okay, hey, this is simple to use. You don't have to think about
Right.
addressing. You don't have to put it on the programming track to turn up the volume.
Right.
I mean that I feel this is not necessarily a problem with the DCC protocol. I think that maybe there's some improvement that DCC manufacturers just haven't been really thinking about as sort of like a user experience.
Well,
How can
yeah.
it make it to
I
be
mean,
easy?
that's-
One of the top selling things is a Broadway limited address changer. Why? You can do that with your system. Why is a Broadway limited address changer so,
Right.
I think that we're missing the mark as like a control system to really invite people in. Just like, hey, this is simple, this is easy to use. You don't have to have everything on address 3 in order to run trains. It's
Right. I think a lot of it depends on the user's attitude
Yeah.
also. I'm one of those crabby old guys, but, it's like trying to buy a car with a manual transmission now. You can't find them, and you can't find locomotives without DCC anymore. So I've probably got 10 locomotives that I can't even run at home.
Well, this
because-
one, this is, what is this, $99? This is the operator one?
Yeah, 99.
$99 DC. So this is for you. Plus you can put
Yeah.
your own handrails in. That's
like
totally
that.
for you.
Yeah.
And I did put a decoder in it, which I'll show in the November video. It's a 21-pin decoder. I never worked with one of those before, but I'm glad I learned to
Yeah,
this week.
they've been recent.
Yep.
Yeah, I know I'm going to get, I really would like to learn it. And I know there's enough young people around like you guys that will
Well,
help me,
I think it's going to be kind of like you won't have to learn it because by the time that, technology is always going.
Right.
There's always going to be an improvement and something that we do just sort of intrinsically now with just the technology that we have kind of installed into the family.
Yeah.
once we kind of
Right.
bridge that gap between model railroad and the technology that's already out there, it'll just be like,
And for younger guys like him, there is no gap.
Like
you know,
him.
he's been there the
natural,
entire
right.
time. You know,
Right.
I started off on a Tech 2, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Yeah, he's never
Now,
done DC.
I'm still on it.
Yes, I have.
too.
I started out that way.
Oh, you did?
I mean,
Yeah. Athearn train set. I started out with the Athearn Power Pack, loop a Bach Easy Track, and I was off.
off to the races.
Yep.
good.
Around the track we go.
We're running out of time. I got 2 quick things to cover. We've got I got permission today, email permission. We've got some new drone footage to run on the What's Neat show over at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. Some pretty spectacular stuff. This is the kind of stuff where all the answers are there to show you how to model. So this horseshoe that I'm running in front of you right now is just a sneak peek of what you're going to get. I mean, there's beaches, oceans, and cliffs. It is just magic. Mountains. If you like Southern California, we've got drone footage, probably a couple minute segments to run for the next few months. Thank you very much, Stephen Conroy, for the permission to do that. I've got one locomotive here that I shot this afternoon. This is,
Rapido RDC.
thank you
Yeah.
very much, from Jason. And Jason asked me if I'd put some people in this and maybe do a segment on What's Neat about how to, load it up with paying passengers. But this is a pretty neat model. I shot it today underneath and all the way around, so check it out. If you haven't seen these yet and you like this type of stuff, this is a really cool model.
Also
What
has
does
low sound.
what does RDC stand for?
You know what? I don't know.
Remote something car.
Diesel.
Car.
Something like that.
Well,
I think.
so basically, real quick, both
I think
ends.
the C is commuter.
Yeah,
Commuter?
these were only running like back and forth commuter runs.
Right.
This one.
And they got cabs in the center or both ends? I guess
both
both
ends.
ends. I
both
see.
ends. Both ends are
Okay.
controlled, so obviously they don't have to waste time to balloon track
Yeah.
or kind of turn it around. It's right
Right.
there on the other end, so they can just guy moves to the other end, and then off they go again, so they can stay on time.
Man, the underbody detail on
Oh
that
my
thing
gosh.
is
Oh,
incredible.
you do. There's
Everything.
drive shafts underneath there. It's amazing.
Unreal.
I did
man.
photograph the bottom of it. I already showed you the picture just a few minutes ago, or
Jeez.
seconds
Yeah.
ago. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
that's
he outdone it. He probably scanned the real thing because that's what he does. Is he scans the actual. When he built his bus, he scanned a bus. He scanned it.
Yep.
I mean, you're not gonna. Can you imagine if they scanned the F unit? Remember the F unit battle through the years? Who got the F unit curvature right, the windows right?
Yeah.
Da 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 da. Eliminated by scanning models. Totally eliminated that whole issue.
With your drone footage, Larry, he hadn't talked tonight, but Larry's redoing his layout, and he is considering the track on foam without cork. He has considered that. And so, Larry, you're going to need to watch the drone footage so you know how to do that scenery I was telling you and showing you. And it'll show you what it is. I got a preview of it earlier. It looked really, really good.
I'm gonna try it, see what happens.
all right.
Chris, you got anything else? We're running out of time.
We're done.
You want me to close it?
You want to close it? Who wants to close it?
Go ahead.
Closed.
All right. Well, I guess I'll close it. All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching. Like, dislike, comments below, and also just some questions, like
Yes.
Dirk mentioned earlier. Just questions. We really want to get those questions answered that you have. Even if you think, oh, it might be stupid, just put it down there, and we'll answer it for you.
Yeah, we'll look at it.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. I'm Dino Coombs, and this is the What's Neat This Week podcast for September 30th. Have a good evening.
Good job. Good job, Daniel.
Thank you.